We are in the doldrums of the NBA offseason, which means at this point I'm going to repeat cold opens. PHNX Suns is going back to school, which is perfect for you take that for data nerds. Psychos and sickos unite for a summer school edition of PHNX Suns, coming to you live from Studio A, and the whole crew is back today. I'm Eric Ruby, that's Stephen Prejean Garner, that's Gerald Bourget, we got the Juice Man, aka Freckled Mamba, aka Ayrton, behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. But of course, the most important people here at this parent-teacher conference is you. Everybody in the chat, joining us on YouTube after the fact, watching on TV, listening on audio, anywhere you get PHNX Suns. We really do appreciate you. We also appreciate you hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, 5-star reviews on audio. Become a diehard today for just $36. We have a lot to get into. We're going to be grading every single move down to the two-way contracts that Brian Gregory made in his first summer as general manager. We'll be giving you an overall grade. We'll be asking you for your grades. So if you're listening on audio, just scream them out and we will hear you. But first things first, how are we feeling on this fine Tuesday?
Feeling great. As an aforementioned nerd, I love report cards, so I'm excited to get into all the letter grades with you guys. Steven, how about you?
I'm not a nerd, first of all. Secondly, I'm definitely not a nerd.
Okay.
Outside of that, I'm doing excellent. Being name called by the host of the show when you did nothing to be given that is crazy, but, you know, one thing we are not over here is sensitive, but just know that when the time comes back, please don't complain. Please don't. What did I do to deserve that? Don't.
I would never.
Don't. What's wrong with you?
Bullied. I would never do anything like that ever.
For sure, just making sure.
No,
Steven
it's fine.
said, "I'm not a nerd. You're just dumb."
Yeah, I mean, hey man, everybody's a nerd to me. What's the
Probably
lowest
using the
grade?
same numbers you got the same access to, and I'm a nerd. All right.
What's the lowest grade that you guys got in school? Like ever?
On a report card?
No, like on like an end of quarter like grade.
Probably like in a B range.
I hope my math teacher from my senior year in high school is listening. I got a C plus. My mom was not happy about it because that was the only C that I pretty much ever got in my academic history.
Yeah.
And come to find out, because my mom was part of the Boosters Club, there was some rumblings about this particular teacher having issues with communication. And it wasn't just with me. So I was a sacrificial lamb for the betterment of students to come after that.
Okay.
There's context to the situation.
Always context. Absolutely.
Your teacher was not aligned with what was actually going on.
Correct.
The lowest grade I ever got was in college. I got C in an econ class. That class sucked. But I was at like a 79. I never got a C in high school. I don't know if I've told this story before, but it was freshman year math, and I was at like a 79 something before the final. So I was like, I need like an 85 to bump it up to a B. Like, no problem. And I was really just goofing off. I bombed the final. I went down to like a 76. And my parents like, all right, well, you got to do summer school. And the finals were split up where it's like half on one day, half on another day. So this is the first day. So I remember I went to my teacher the next day and I was like, hey, what's up, my friend? Is there any way that you could do me a favor and round my 76 to a B? And she's like, what? And I'm like, well, my parents are going to send me to summer school. You know, like I really studied hard for the final and everything. And she's like, no, get out of here. And then later on, I checked my grades and she did it.
Oh.
And she rounded my 76 up to a B.
Well, that's
and I never
she probably realized that if you had to go, then she had to be involved. And she was like, yeah, let me do a book a favor.
She's like, wait, a whole
summer.
Hey, I'm a winner either way.
Started on time. Exactly.
I'm a winner either way.
Yep, for sure.
Ayrton, lowest grade ever in school.
I've dabbled in the grades below C's
Have you?
before
Okay.
a few times.
Basketball
Okay.
star. He could do whatever he
He
wants.
can. That's true.
So we're the nerds. Ayrton's the only one who's not
Yeah,
a nerd.
nerds like me doing his homework for him. He's attempting reverse dunks in men's league. That's
Yeah,
great.
no, we're talking about Ayrton's gonna give me $50 if I dunk in our men's league game. So
What are you going to spend that $50?
no,
on,
he's gonna
Ayrton?
give me.
Yeah, wait, what do I get? We haven't
Nothing.
Yeah, no.
Nothing.
What's he
I
gonna,
have to dunk.
What's he going to do with the $50 he doesn't have to pay you?
Hey man, I've gotten up
The
before.
world is my oyster.
Oysters sound good.
Okay, not for $50. You're not gonna get a ton. All right, everybody, drop your lowest grade from school in the chat. We'll roast you or not if you're better than us. Let's start things off. We got a lot to get into here with Jordan Ott. The first move for Brian Gregory was hiring the former Cleveland Cavaliers lead assistant coach, MSU grad, but has been in the NBA for over a decade, starting with Mike Budenholzer's Atlanta Hawks. Gerald, what grade are you giving to hiring Jordan Ott?
I'm going to go with an A- on this one. I think once you get past the whole Michigan State thing, which a lot of people freaked out about, and rightfully so, he's a good hire. He's a deserving head coaching candidate. And I think I liked a lot of what he had to say at his introductory press conference. So proof will be in the pudding. He has to actually put these things to work and get a young team to where they need to be. But I liked a lot of what I heard about what he'll bring to the table.
Steven?
I got a A for Jordan Ott in particular. I was about to say for Brian Gregory. Excuse me. Yeah, I got an A for Jordan Ott because I feel like he aligns a lot with what Brian Gregory is and wants with the team, as well as Mat Ishbia, as well as all the other kind of higher-ups with the team. Age-wise, I think he matches. I think being forward-thinking and evolve with his approach helps as well, and I think that's the best way to reach younger types of players because you have to be able to meet them at their level. And I talked about his servant approach to leadership from what it seems from all accounts that we've heard. There's no better way to kind of go about navigating those things and establishing something new than with that.
I went with a B+. Now, I'm actually a lot higher on Jordan Ott than I was when he first got hired and when we were spending a lot of time talking about who could be the potential coach. And the B+ is really like nothing that he could have done differently or Brian Gregory could have done differently. It's like he just is an unknown. So I had a hard time dipping in that A category. But from what we can gather, he's extremely prepared. From what we've heard from when Shane Young was on the program, talking about what Donovan Mitchell had to say about him always introducing new offensive concepts and whatnot. I'm very confident in what Jordan Ott can do. And I think that we could be sitting here a year from now and that could be an A+ hire if the Suns do surprise or at least establish an identity in year one under Brian Gregory and Jordan Ott.
So you said the unknowns are why you don't want to give Jordan Ott an A?
It's just like we have never seen him as a head coach before, right? So I don't know if I can call this like a home run hire. And I mean, a lot of this is projection as well, and it's like a B+. We're talking like 88, 89 in comparison to like what Gerald was probably put like a 91, 92, like A-.
Right.
We're not talking about a massive difference.
One or two percentage points. Boom Shakalaka said it best in the chat. Any coach is better than Coach Bud.
If we're grading on a curve, A+++++++.
And I think we should address this type of question early because Level Outlook asked, how can the grade be so high? We know literally nothing about him really yet. I think that's fair, especially compared to like players we've seen them in other places. But technically, a lot of these new players that are on the team, we haven't seen them in a Suns context yet either. So a lot of these grades look dumb in retrospect. Like anytime you got draft grades or trade grades or grades like this, some of them are going to look really smart later. Some of them are going to look really dumb. That's kind of what makes the NBA fun, is the unpredictability of it. But as of right now, based on what we know, this is kind of our gut feeling on it.
It's just incomplete. What if we did a whole show, all 15 moves, just incomplete.
Jalen Green, incomplete. He has literally not scored a single basket for the Suns yet.
I mean, we can't even grade the Kevin Durant trade because Khaman Maluach's career isn't over yet. So we got to really wait to do that. But speaking
So
of,
it would be a level outlook to give Jordan Ott an A.
there you go.
There you go.
There's the bars, you nerd. Steven might actually hit me. This might be.
He's storing up the ammo.
And here's the thing: is now he's giving me like an in. It's like now I know that it messes with him. It's the
Who
same.
said it messes with me?
Oh,
You assumed it's messing
It's
with
like
me.
the cutesy leg thing. It's like I know, like listen.
chilling.
Once the show's over, you're not gonna be thinking about it, but it's still fun. I'm still thinking about the Kevin Durant trade. It was a massive change for the Suns. Obviously, there was a really long build up to it. A lot of you were here for the coverage for that. Incompletes all around for the Kevin Durant trade. No, but this is what we had to say for the trade that involved Kevin Durant going to the Houston Rockets in exchange for Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks, the pick that became Khaman Maluach, and 5 second-round picks that were eventually flipped around in some later moves that we'll get to here in a second. Obviously, it's August, but Gerald, what are you rolling with grading the KD trade?
I'm going with a C-. I still have serious doubts about Jalen Green and Devin Booker's fit. I do like Dylan Brooks, but I like the fact that you got your own pick back, a top 10 pick in this year's draft, and I like what they did with that pick. But at the same time, trading Kevin Durant 2.5 years into trading for him after all that you gave up to get him for this kind of package, it's always going to be somewhat of a loss to me. So I think Gregory did the best he could given where KD's value was at, given that they had no trade leverage, but it still wasn't like a winning trade in my book, so I have a hard time giving it a higher grade than that.
Yeah, for me, just because of what it seems like was actually accessible for them as far as returns that they could entertain, and teams would pick up the phone and would be willing to dance with them, wasn't much out there.
Yeah. Because
of that, in addition to how they flipped those things they did get in return and made value moves through the draft, that has to be a B for me. I struggle to bring it anywhere higher than a B, but I think that is a B type of recoup for them, if you will.
This one was really tough. This was definitely the one that I went back and forth on the most. And, like grading on a curve, part of me was like, yeah, they were put in a really tough situation. Right. And it wasn't a situation that Brian Gregory made. It was one that the Phoenix Suns made, trying to shop KD behind his back at the deadline.
Right.
And then getting that to the point where he didn't want to be on the team anymore. And teams knew that. And pseudo forced his way to a couple of teams, including the Houston Rockets, obviously on that list. I said in the moment I didn't love Jalen Green as the center of a package. I've felt a little bit better about that as time went on. I feel better because you did get the rookie class that you got. And at the end of the day, they are rookies, though. So it's like, how much stock can we put into that? And if we're grading it at the time, like I'm okay with just going with a solid C, maybe a C+ or a B. I'm not mad at anybody who wants to go higher than that. But at the end of the day, you did trade somebody that you gave up a whole lot more for to a Western Conference team that didn't have to end up really parting with any of their major core key pieces that they were trying to build the future around. I know Jalen Green was their number one option on offense in the playoffs and through that season, but it's clear now with who they prioritized in that trade that the players and the assets they didn't want to give up, like the future Suns picks and Jabari Smith, and they didn't, right? So you're giving up the best player in the deal. I think you got adequate value back, and maybe in 2 or 3 years with how these rookies and Jalen Green might look, or what you can get if you trade any of those guys in another deal, maybe that grade can bump up.
Oh, yeah. This grade can absolutely bump up if Khaman Maluach turns out to be the monster that the Suns believe he can be in time. Like we've all been saying, we do think it's going to take some time. It's not going to, magically manifest in year one. But if he can pan out and if Jalen Green can pair better with Devin Booker than I personally am anticipating, then yeah, this grade will obviously bump up.
What would it take for it to go up?
I mean,
C for you, or what would it have taken rather? Because obviously,
like right now,
yeah, obviously there's all perspectives being included with it. But what would it have taken for you to bump it up?
If you got another one of your own picks back or another first round pick back, if you were able to snag a Jabari or a Tari along with it, which was possible, those are things where I feel like if you're going to trade with Houston specifically, that could bump it up. Another one would have just been trading him to another team. Obviously, there's context on whether he would have approved that, but like a Minnesota or somebody that might have given you some maybe better fitting players next to Devin Booker for the now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Atari being included would have helped. Another draft pick would have helped. I know that wasn't realistic at a certain point, but again, I do think, like you said, Eric, it wasn't just that the Suns found themselves in this position where that was the best they could do. They did put themselves there. And I know we're grading Brian Gregory's move, so we kind of have to differentiate because he was not in charge at that point in time. But it's still kind of a situation that they put themselves in as a franchise. So That's part of my grade for me as well.
Corey says, if Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks help the Suns be good this season and the Rockets underperform, will y'all change your mind then? Absolutely. For sure.
Like I said, a lot of these grades are going to look dumb in retrospect. This is our best attempt at guessing a grade right now.
God, I hope these are dumb. What would it take for you to bump it up? Even though you're already high, it's not like you gave it an A++.
Yeah, if it was gonna be an A, it would have had to have been one more pick and one of Jabari Atari.
Yeah.
But I feel like they went with the pick heavy return. I think that's what they mentioned, right?
They wanted more second rounders,
right. So you have to give up not having access to one of those type of players that could have helped you right now immediately.
And I would have said probably in the moment, I probably would have said D-, right when it happened, the day of. The thing that I was happy about was that it was over and that he got traded and that it was just like, okay, we can move on now. Sure. But how you ended up in the draft, which we'll get to here in a second, being able to steal what a lot of people had as a top 5 to 7 pick and another guy that some people had going in the lottery or the top 20 with the 10th and the 31st pick. And the more that I watch Jalen Green film and kind of settle into the idea that he is going to be starting on this team and the fact that he has potential, I feel better about it than in the moment. So it's already bumped up for me than when it happened in the moment. And I think that's about as high as it can go before we actually see some damn basketball getting played.
Sure.
Yeah. I think, I would have took that from me. I think on the day of the trade, I think I said C+. So I went up a little bit since then because of the moves that we've seen materialize, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. But that was not the only trade that the Suns made before the draft, or this one at least during it. Right before selecting Khaman Maluach, they traded 2 first-round picks and Vasa Micic in exchange for Mark Williams and their own second-round pick back. Gerald, we were shocked in the moment when this happened. What do you grade this now that some time has passed?
Yeah, I gave this one a B, and I think I speak for all of us when I say it's going to hinge on how many games Mark Williams plays this season and what type of contract they sign him to as an extension, if they do wind up extending him at all. A lot of people are going to point to, they gave up 2 first-round picks. They gave up the number 29 pick, which they wound up trading all the way up to number 31. So basically wound up moving back 2 slots. And they traded a pick in 2029 that's the least valuable between Utah, Minnesota, and Cleveland. So probably going to be somewhere in the 20s, I would guess. That seems like fair value for Mark Williams, considering you didn't really have to give up anything from a player standpoint. You gave up Vasa Micic, who didn't really even play for the Suns. And I think he's a young player that's worth a flyer. I think we're all concerned about the health, but if he can stay healthy, he can be an above-the-rim presence for the Suns on both ends and give them some rim protection that they sorely lacked last year.
What would you give it, Steven?
I said a B-, and I think at his worst, he will add value for this team. So because of that, he stays as a piece coming in, he stays an above average. Now, where he has room to grow is the health part, like Gerald mentioned, obviously first and foremost. But skill-wise, if he continues to prove that he can do more than the role that he played with Charlotte, but still exude some of those skill type of qualities that he provided, that will add value for the Suns team and unlock some things in ways that they'll certainly need to on offense in particular. He can probably bump up to a B+, if not a A- for me, quite honestly, because the bar for the Suns at the center position was
in hell.
It was the bottom of the ocean.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that this one has a lot of room to bump up. A lot of that is on Mark and staying healthy. I like the trade. I'll give it a B-. I don't hate it. Yeah, I was definitely cheating off of your homework. But I think this is tough because there's so much unknown. And I know it's like, the unknown. But like with this one, he's not under contract for more than the next season, right? He has not played a lot of games over his entire career or in any individual season as well. He has regressed in some certain aspects over the last couple of years from what he came into the league as, especially possibly because of these injuries, I think there's a lot on the table for Mark Williams, and I don't hate the swing that ended up being Liam McNeely at 29, who I'd rather have Rasheer Fleming than. I think if you didn't get Rasheer Fleming, then maybe you'd feel a little worse about this move. And that 2029 first-round pick, as nice as it would be to have a first-round pick to maybe be able to dangle in certain deals right now, like you said, Gerald, was more like a early second-round pick, and those are ones that you could acquire later on. So I'm going to give it a B-, but I do like the Mark Williams trade, especially, I think in the moment when the next thing happened, which we talk about Khaman Maluach, it was a little confusing because it was like, okay, you just spent your number 10 pick on a center that was supposed to go top 5, top 7, and then you traded for Mark Williams, who's also a young center. It was a little confusing, but the more that we kind of settle into the fact that Maluach likely won't be ready to take on a large role in the NBA in year one, and they do believe in his 3-ball, the Suns do, and maybe they could play together, that makes a little bit more sense. So I think a B- is reasonably optimistic for giving up what could end up being 2 first-round picks, as low as they might be, for somebody who might not be either worthy or sign a contract extension with you after this season.
Yeah. And it's worth remembering, I think the Lakers gave up a first-round pick in Dalton Connect, who was a rookie who was a first-round pick. So it's kind of similar value in my book.
Yeah, but the
Lakers got, everybody loved it for the Lakers.
Sure.
But for the Suns, what are they doing?
I mean, it was on the heels of Luka, so it was like, of course, everybody loved it.
Yeah,
those frauds. Okay, let's keep it going.
Imagine a team working to get better.
Hopefully, we can relate. The Suns then added another center to the roster just mere moments afterwards. That, of course, coming at pick number 10 when Duke's Khaman Maluach fell in the draft, and much to everybody's surprise, made it past the Toronto Raptors at 9, past the Brooklyn Nets at 8. And Gerald, I was super thrilled, super excited when this pick went down, but some time has passed. What would you grade the Suns taking the Duke center at 10?
Yeah, I think this is great value. I gave it an A-. I think I was probably, if we're talking numbers, I was probably at like a 94, and then maybe Summer League jumped it down to 93. That's it. I'm not going to read too much into Summer League. I do think it matters for this upcoming season and how ready he might be. We got a good taste of it. But I still am high on his potential and his upside. So I'm going to stick with an A-.
Steven, you and I both going with an A+.
Yeah, I said A+ because we're grading both the maneuvers to get up to 10 and obviously having him at the 10th pick to get in tandem with the potential. And I haven't been shy about noting that I have multiple questions about not Khaman, the prospect, but the player in this present moment and how that aligns with everything that is related to Devin Booker.
Sure.
That's why on draft night, I was like, this is good, but I would have traded back for a Cedric Coward or a Neat Clifford if Coward wasn't available to go in tandem with a Rasheer Fleming type of pick at the end of the first round, if not into the second round, which you traded back and then ultimately got to getting him. My reasoning for that is because how long will it take for him to be at an NBA level? Because if you can't add value in this window of time where you're probably auditioning for Devin Booker's, the fulfillment of his contract, if not beyond, if the timelines aren't equal, I just don't see how that works in your favor. Now, obviously, you could say, well, at least they'll have him if Booker decides to go elsewhere at some point, but that's just kind of where I'm at on it right now, still.
See, I really like the move because obviously, like we mentioned, the center play was just in the absolute gutter the last couple of years. You had your franchise center that you drafted number 1 overall in DeAndre Ayton, and that worked out until it didn't. But when Devin Booker has an elite center to pair with him, it makes his life a lot easier. And if Maluach was somebody who's projected to go in like the 20s or the 30s, right? Like Jan Hansen was, and the Suns reached and picked him 10, you'd feel a lot different than, there were a lot of people who had this guy going surefire top 5, right? Despite all the deficiencies, he'd only been playing basketball for less than half of a decade. He's supposed to, age-wise, be going into his freshman year of college, just like technically Cooper Flagg, his teammate, is supposed to be doing as well. I believe in him as a worker, as a personality, and I think just the raw skills and the raw tools maybe isn't going to translate into a starting center this year, but I do think he'll have some sort of impact on the Suns this year. And I do think 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, like this is going to be a conversation of like, okay, Khaman Maluach is hopefully going to be the guy that takes the keys from Devin Booker whenever it's all said and done. And that being said, to get that guy at 10, when he wasn't supposed to be at 10. I felt really good about that. But I'd say maybe out of all of the grades that we have today, based off of the reporting of the potential deals that the Suns had on the table for 10, based off of how raw Khaman is and maybe him not reaching his full potential, this might be the one that has the biggest opportunity to fall in the next couple of years.
For sure. Our grades are more lean towards, like Steven said, Khaman the prospect, not Khaman the player right now. Because I think we all agree in year one, he's not going to be an immediate impact player. If he is and he surprises us, fantastic. But I don't think any of us are expecting him to go out there and, supplant Mark Williams by the end of the season, or even necessarily be the backup center by the end of the season. We're hopeful, but it's going to take some time for this pick to live up to the grades that we're giving it.
Could be worth it. We'll have to wait and see. What about the other rookies? What about Bradley Beal, Devin Booker? Some stuff went down with them this offseason as well. We're grading every single move that Brian Gregory made in his first summer as Phoenix Suns general manager. Stick with us right after our first break. I love repping my team. I always do it, whether it's the stickers on the laptop, it's the shirt, it's the hat, whatever it is. I am an Arizona sports guy through and through. And that's why I'm a Rally House guy through and through. The go-to spot to shop for all your favorite local Arizona team gear with tens of thousands, I'm not even kidding, tens of thousands of products to choose from. From all teams, they only carry local teams. None of this local sports franchises that sell merch selling Bulls merch, no offense, Steven, or Lakers merch, or Cubs merch, or Yankees. Get out of here with that. Not at Rally House. It's all Arizona all the time. You can check out their brick and mortar locations in Tempe, that's my favorite, Mesa, and Glendale, or you can find your local Rally House and shop their entire product assortment online at www.rallyhouse.com. That's www.rallyhouse.com. And make sure you mark down your calendars. October 31st through November 2nd, you need to be at Phoenix Raceway for NASCAR Championship Weekend. Before I tell you all of the amazing things you'll see there, I want to let you know that it might be the last time you can see it for a while, because NASCAR is taking Championship Weekend on the road starting in 2026, so it will not be back at Phoenix Raceway for an undisclosed, indeterminate amount of time. But this year, October 31st to November 2nd, you can catch cars roaring by at almost 200 miles per hour, witness 4 champions crowned in just 3 days, and with a small ticket upgrade, you're up close to the garage, meeting the drivers, walking the track, catching the pre-race concert, all at Phoenix Raceway. Tickets, hospitality, and upgrades are all still available, but tickets for Sunday's NASCAR Cup Series Championship race sell out every year, so move fast. Get yours now at the link in our show notes. Also, want to remind everybody that we are having a Die Hard sale right now for just $36 because football season is here. It's the Football Club Special. I'm hijacking it for ASU this week. Also, Cardinals coming up in a couple weeks as well. So make sure you go become a Die Hard today. Get all of Gerald's writing, extra film breakdowns from Steven, extra content during the season, access to our Die Hard Discord, and so much more. Go phnx.com/join.
Hey, this is the last time I'm gonna say this. You keep the Cubs name out your mouth.
What are you most likely to get mad at me over? Me calling you a nerd or bad mouthing the Cubs?
Well, one of them is not true, so that just is what it is. But you're not gonna talk crazy about my Cubs.
Sorry, man. What about your Bulls?
You notice I only mentioned one of the teams that you mentioned. That was for a reason.
Khaman Maluach wasn't the only rookie the Suns added on the 2-day draft experience, and we were all floored when Brian Gregory got in the kitchen in day 2 and traded a lot of those second-round picks that he got in the Kevin Durant deal and the picks that they already had to move up to number 31, the first pick in the second round, Gerald, and take Rasheer Fleming out of St. Joe's. What would you grade the maneuvering to get up to and then them selecting Rasheer Fleming?
Yeah, I liked it. I gave it an A. I think if you were going to prioritize second round picks in that Kevin Durant trade, and then you were able to turn some of those picks into basically the earliest second round pick you possibly could get for a guy that we all graded as a first round talent, I really liked that. Like I think you could argue that they got 2 first rounders, even though he was technically a second round guy. because we all liked him when the Suns still had the 29th overall pick. The Celtics were going to take him at number 31, which, given the way that they've drafted recently, is a pretty good indicator that he's a good player. So I really liked this. I think it addresses their need for size and length on the wing at the 4, potentially small ball 5 guy. I know he didn't exactly like blow anyone away at Summer League, but I think he's going to be a good complementary role player, even if as a rookie he's going to have his ups and downs, trial by fire type stuff.
Yeah, for me, it was an A++. This was one of the maybe 3 or 4 first-round players that I was extremely high on, and I will preface and acknowledge that I'm not a draft Nick. I'm not someone that is hyper-intensive on college games throughout the season because I'm obviously tied down with the NBA games. But I do tend to kind of watch a little bit, and especially, obviously, even more so if the Suns end their season early, I have more time before the draft to prepare. Rasheer was one of those guys for me, right there with Cedric Coward and Nick Clifford as far as pieces I felt could play very well with Devin Booker. And them being able to find him at the beginning of the second round, you didn't even have to get him in the first round. He was there for you on the second night, and you did what you needed to move up and make that happen. I think he's the most ready to add value now rookie that they drafted in this recent draft, and I think he's going to be a player that pays great dividends for them sooner rather than later.
When we talked pre-draft about 29, it was there's almost no chance that they can get Rasheer Fleming. He's going to be gone by 20, if not mid-20s, if not 26, 27, 28. Right? It was, if he falls to 29, it's a coup. The same way with Khaman Maluach, where it was like, yeah, if Khaman Maluach or even Carter Bryant, who actually both ended up being there, were available at 10, like those are the picks the Suns should make. Mm-hmm. Rasheer Fleming at 31 and what you did to get up there, which was shedding some future draft capital and some draft capital in that second round. But you're right, Steven. I think that he's ready to contribute this year. He pops on tape. And I think about talking to another Steven Gillespie over at No Ceilings when we did this like post-draft breakdown. He was telling me that he had Rasheer as the 12th best prospect in the draft. Mm-hmm. And maybe I don't agree with 12. But if somebody drafted him at 15 through 20, I wouldn't have been shocked, right? So getting him at 31, the amount of different types of moves it took to get to 31, I would not be shocked if this was the most universally beloved move that Brian Gregory made in his first summer as general manager.
Yeah, and this is the second year in a row that we've seen the Suns, and they gave a lot of credit to Brian Gregory for getting Ryan Dunn and Oso in last year's draft, but this is the second year that we've seen the Suns maneuver and package picks in the second round to move up a few slots to get the guy that they wanted. In this case, they started the day with 52 and 59, and they moved all the way up to 41 and 36, package 36, and future seconds to get to 31. So I like that because that tells me that when they do have second round picks or draft capital, they're going to find a way to maneuver because teams in the second round are a lot more keen to move off of picks, especially the ones that have multiple picks. And I like that this team is exhausting every potential possibility. A lot of fan bases don't care about second round picks, but I'm glad that this general manager is identifying targets that late in the second round and finding ways to get these guys. They need to pan out, obviously, but I think we all like Fleming as a prospect.
Yeah, the draft picks have the most variance.
Yes,
on all of this, just because there's so much writing on them, but also they're rookies and who knows. And that also means Kobe Brea, who I would not say gets lost in the fold, especially after having the most impressive summer league out of any of the Suns rookies. But him getting drafted at 41 after a trade with the Golden State Warriors, 52 and 59 for 41. I really like Kobe Brea as a player. He gets signed to a two-way as well, so he's not taking up a roster spot, even though he can play in the big leagues. Steven, where are you grading Kobe Brea being selected in the second round for the Suns and Brian Gregory?
I gave them a B+ for finding Kobe Brea. Obviously a player that can shoot and can score, I think, better than most people have noticed. Obviously the shooting stands out most, but I think generally he's a scorer. He has a scorer's prowess at bare minimum. And I think that kind of entails where his skill development will take him going forward. He has to prove a lot of other things on the court, though. Playmaking, capable as I've shown in film, not necessarily a strong suit, especially on the professional level quite yet. Defense is obviously the biggest question that people have. I don't think he'll be as much of an issue defending to a scheme so long as you have the right types of help and the right types of rim protection around him. all those things being considered, though, I think for the player that's coming in right now, I think he's a B+.
Yeah, I went a little bit higher, and I think maybe that's some summer league bias because of how well he played on that stage. But I went with an A- because I do like, it's all relative, of course. This A- is not maybe the same as some of the other A- we've given out, but packaging 52 and 59 to move all the way up to 41 is pretty great value, especially if you have a guy that you like who just so happens to be the best shooter in the entire draft class. It was funny when Shams tweeted out that news and the details of 52 and 59 for 41. The top comment is from like a Warriors music account that's just why. Like, that's usually a good indicator for me. I know we can't base it on other people's opinions, but I like Kobe Bryant as a prospect, especially second round. And if you could turn 52 and 59 into that, I'm pretty high on that move.
Best shooter in the country for multiple seasons. He was the best shooter in the draft. NBA size, NBA body. Shown that he was able to create his own shot in Summer League. And not to just like give other people's opinions, like you said, Gerald, but again, there are some people who had Kobe graded as a first-round pick. Now, I don't know if I would have graded him as a first-round pick, but I think getting somebody with that type of pedigree at 41, I think any time in the second round that you can walk away and say, that guy has a certifiable NBA skill, right? He was the best in the country at that. I think that's a win, right? And I think that having him on a two-way and also keeping an open roster spot and kind of seeing what you can get out of him in the G League this year before converting him presumably to a standard contract was also a good move from Brian Gregory and allowed them a little bit more maneuverability and flexibility. So overall, what we're all saying is it seemed like an A to and maybe a low A+ draft for the Suns overall, getting Maluach, getting Fleming, and getting Brea and the moves it took to get them. I think the overall mood around this team, and as a fan, this is how I felt, completely shifted after the draft. It felt like we actually started getting little bits and pieces of hopium back after the KD trade and then after seeing what happened from those picks play out for the Suns.
Yeah, the reaction to the KD trade was not great. The reaction to the draft really helped turn things around in terms of adding to the direction that this team was heading in. So I think that was big for getting a little bit more buy-in from the fan base.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just for me, for those that bat an eye or just turn off the TV when it comes to second round picks, allow for me to present you with pieces that played viable to the championship Oklahoma City Thunder this past season. And that's just one half of the championship round because Indiana had a few pieces of their own that were in their main rotation. Jalen Williams played extremely valuable against the Denver Nuggets and guarding everything that was Nikola Jokic. Aaron Wiggins, another player that played viable for them. Isaiah Hartenstein, their starting center. Alex Caruso was a second-round pick. Isaiah Joe. That's 5 different names that we just gave you that can make out a viable lineup in the secondary unit for a team in the playoffs, and obviously all played key to them, and they had other pieces as well. But that's what you get from players like that. Find gems in the second round.
So Kobe Bryant, Rasheer Fleming, or Nikola Jokic.
Was Lou Dort a second-round pick?
Lou Dort was undrafted.
So even more to my point, that's 2/5 of their starting lineup that came from the second round or went completely undrafted and NBA champs.
You can find gems anywhere, especially as the game has progressed and athletes have gotten overall better. Some of these guys in the second round, like, a Bronny James, right? And players like that can make a pretty big impact. Before we move on from the draft, get to some signings, some re-signings, some stretching and waiving and extensions, we have some super chats from BCOM See Clearly, which means it's time for Juice Man to hop on the mic.
All right, let's get it started. $2 from BCOM See Clearly. Steven is looking extra cutesy legged. Heart emoji.
Nice.
We appreciate you, BCOM.
Another $2 from BCOM See Clearly. Rasheer do got some bums back there.
What are the emojis?
Kiss emoji and then double heart eye emoji. And then $5 from BCOM See Clearly. I sent a 3-paragraph message to President Derek Hall telling him my D-back story and TBI recovery. I think it brought him to tears. Heart emoji. It was hard.
BCOM See Clearly has one hell of a story.
Yeah.
And is also one hell of a super chatter. Thank you.
Storyteller.
Storyteller, be calm, see clearly in here. We're going to keep telling the story of Brian Gregory's first summer as Phoenix Suns general manager. So stick with us right after our final break. I'm Mr. Shade. Whether I'm throwing it at Steven or relaxing in it in the summer, I am all about shade. And make sure you extend your outdoor living space with a custom fit awning. Roll down patio shades block the sun, good for me, and keep the patio up to 20 degrees cooler. Hundreds of colors and durable fabric to choose from to withstand the AZ sun. You can get it manual, you can get it motorized. They can replace or fix most old or outdated patio shades and motorized awnings. But the best part is that you can trust them. The most trusted local shade company, voted #1 by Ranking Arizona for patio shades in 2024, an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, and over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google. They've been in the business in the Valley for more than 20 years, licensed, bonded, and insured. Write this number down, 623-204-1476. That's 623-204-1476, or visit allproshadeconcepts.com right now to schedule your free estimates. Listen, I like money. I like saving money, and I know you do too, because we have to do it nowadays, and that's why Mountain America Credit Union is the official credit union of the Phoenix Suns, and it could be the official credit union of you, our wonderful viewers and listeners. And if you are using Mountain America Credit Union, you can use the Suns card. You could pair it with the My Style checking account to unlock extra benefits we've been telling you about here on PHNX, like telehealth access, loan rate discounts, mobile phone protection, and so much more. And it's a no annual fee credit card that's also available as a low rate cashback or rewards credit card option. Mountain America is here to guide you forward in your financial journey. Get your Suns card today. Apply at any Arizona branch. Visit macu.com/suns to learn more. Insured by NCUA. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Loans are on approved credit. Big shout out to all of you here in the chat. Nice crowd on a Tuesday. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button as well if you're listening on audio. 5-star reviews, and don't stop running. Okay. Ready to keep on running through these grades?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. From the draft to free agency, one of the bigger surprising moves of this offseason, right after we got off of our free agents extravaganza where the Suns did nothing, they ended up signing Nigel Hayes-Davis, overseas player who is very, very accomplished, somebody Steven and I talked about a lot yesterday. Steven, since you are so high on Nigel Hayes-Davis and his spot on the Suns this year, what would you grade this move for Brian Gregory?
Yeah, I gave it a B+. And he's going to be someone that just adds value in multiple different ways. We talked about glue guys yesterday as one of the questions in Mailbag Monday. I mentioned him as a piece of that in addition to Oso. But for Nigel, he's just a player that has that pedigree that we talk about. One of those reputations that precedes him, no different than with Colling Gillespie. Having won at high levels in multiple moments over the course of his career, obviously culminating in this opportunity with the Suns. He's just a piece that understands it, and I don't think he's going to be shy about wearing his blue collar at all.
Yeah, I think Frank Kaminsky, we asked him for his thoughts on Nigel Hayes as his former teammate at Wisconsin, said hardest worker you'll find out there, one of the best players in Europe the past 2 years. And he's not wrong on either front. If you look at what he's accomplished, not just the last 2 years, but since he's gone overseas and been a pro over there, he's won in every league that he's been a part of. I think the fact that he is a hard worker helps. I am a little more reserved in my grade just because we've seen the last 2 years how infrequently vet minimum guys pan out, but relative to his signing, what they're signing him for, I think he's got a shot to earn minutes, especially because we have so many questions at that 4 spot. So hopefully he'll be able to carve out a space for himself, and he has improved as a 3-point shooter as well.
I like Nigel Hayes-Davis. I don't mean to come off rude with my grade of C+, but it plays to your point, Jared, with the vet minimum, and also just the fact that we have not seen him on an NBA level. I'm fine with him taking the swing. I like them taking the swing. I wouldn't be shocked if he finds himself in the rotation. I'd be shocked if he was one of the better players off the bench for the Suns, but he has a lot to prove, and he wants to stick in the NBA, and he is a proven winner with a good mindset and mentality. A C+ to me is I like the move, but I don't think it's a game changer. So maybe there were a couple other names that you look at in this free agent market and say, could the Suns have gotten them? But also it's would they want to go to the Suns? You get somebody who wants to be here, who's hungry, and who can fill a void positionally. Maybe in revisiting this, a B- would have been a little bit more fair for Nigel Hayes-Davis, where I landed on him. But put a little fuel in the fire, Nigel. Put a picture of me up on your wall and put a big X through it.
I don't take him as a guy that needs other fuel.
Just trying to do my part.
He wouldn't be the first Suns player.
No, he would not. BComC clearly is back, which means so is Juice Man.
Level, he might get minutes in place of Royce because Royce might not be here for too long.
Also fair.
BComC clearly with the $2 super chat. Kobe Brea is Booker with no cake. All back, no cake.
My favorite thing to do is just to let those breathe afterwards for like a second.
Sit.
Just. All right, moving on. From signing Nigel Hayes-Davis to re-signing Colling Gillespie, a move all of us were high on. Steven and I did a Colling Gillespie breakdown last week. If you missed that, would highly encourage you to check that out. But Jared, where do you land on bringing back the former Villanova guard?
Yeah, I gave it a B, and I think this is relative to kind of expectations, and I probably would have been slightly higher if it had been like a second-year team option or something like that. I think the 1 year, I was hoping for maybe a multi-year deal for Gillespie to prove himself, but I also understand that what he showed on a two-way last year on a team devoid of the hustle, defense, all the things that he brought to the table, I understand that, we have to temper our expectations a little bit, but I do think he'll be the backup point guard for the Suns. I do think he'll get minutes, and I think he'll make the most of them. But at the end of the day, it is bringing back a bench player on a 1 year deal, so that's why I went with a B.
Steven, you're really high on this move.
Yeah, I probably should have added another plus if I'm being honest, but did say he's an A+. It's for him as the player and the prospect that he's proven to be, but it's also bigger than just the signing because as a franchise, if you haven't had a culture, if you haven't had an identity, and you're looking to establish that, the best way to start to establish the foundation level is by rewarding the behaviors that you desire to see more of. And there's one thing that Colin was last season, and that's blue collar, hard nosed, chippy, all of those things that you are wanting if you want a team that's going to be competing on a nightly basis, especially a team that might be at a talent disadvantage on the nights where they're going against playoff teams in each respective conference. The best way to minimize that margin and make it honestly an advantage for you, having more guys that are cut from that same cloth as Colling Gillespie. And again, if you're a franchise that's saying that you want to do these things and have these types of players, you have to start rewarding those guys that do bring that. I think Nigel hasn't done it with the Suns, but he's been a player that's shown to do that over his career. Now, obviously, Colin is the most direct player that's been up for a contract opportunity for you.
I'm right in the middle of you guys. B+ for re-signing Colling Gillespie for me. I do like the idea of having him around for another year, but also keeping that hunger, that fire lit under him of like, hey, we're also keeping the door open of maybe we can bring you back on a bigger contract. You can go earn yourself a bigger contract. He's a culture guy, but at the end of the day, he is going to be coming off of your bench. We hope that he can end up being maybe your 6th or 7th guy by the end of the season, your spot starter when you need it. We're talking about somebody that averaged about 5 points per game last year. I'm high on him. I'm high on his future. He's 26 years old. Like Ayrton mentioned on Friday, it seems like he's kind of set up well to have a breakout season. So I think this is overall a very universally well-regarded move for the Suns. Let's knock out a couple of the two ways real quick. Obviously, we're not going to have a ton to break down on this, but let's start with Isaiah Livers on a two-way contract. We're going C+ across the board. Anybody have any strong takes about Brian Gregory and Isaiah Livers?
No, I just like the flyer on a player who believes that he's going to be a lot better and has worked on his game since getting injured and believes that now that he's fully healthy, he'll be able to make more of an impact. Those are the types of guys that you should use one of your 3 two-way slots on. So I like the move, but again, relative to it being a two-way, that's why it's in the C+ range.
Yeah, C-way, so it's a 2+. Two-way, so it's a C+. I crossed myself over. Yeah, that part for sure. I think he's a player that's low risk, and if his reward, if he hits what he can, it could be a lot higher than the value of the contract that you have him on.
When we talked to him at Summer League, he had mentioned that he's basically been playing with an injury his entire career. Like he's never been not injured in the NBA and giving him some time to grow and develop in the G League and then possibly getting him some spot minutes this year if he earns it. I definitely don't hate it. Another two-way contract for the Suns. This one happened right at the end of the draft. It was signing CJ Huntley. We're a little bit more in disagreement here. I'm C-, Gerald, your C, Steven, your C+. Still relatively in the same area. I would say for me, I didn't love what I saw from him in Summer League, but again, it's Summer League, so I'm not going to be like F for this guy.
And I think he's one of those bigs that is dependent on good guard play.
Yeah.
Like you saw in the first game when the pick and roll was popping, he actually made a pretty good impact. And then once the guard play tanked, his impact did as well. So
Yuri Collins.
I don't know if the Suns is exactly the place that's going to fix that for him if he does see any action. But I like him. I'm actually going to be speaking with his coach at Appalachian State later in the week, so we'll get a little bit more on his game for a segment either later this week or next week. But I'll go with a C.
Yeah, first thing that stood out to me from Summer League was that he can switch.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when he was on the court with Oso Ighodaro, they were just switching everything that they were involved directly in action with, and he played with great activity on the perimeter defensively. Obviously, the offense was inconsistent, as y'all spoke to, but I think with improved guard play, him being capable of popping and rolling and making some short roll reads, there's a baseline for opportunity down the line if he can continue to develop the rest of his game out.
All right. From the two ways to the next one. Waving and stretching Bradley Beal.
Mm-hmm.
Don't act like this is not the one you
Well, this
was most
one,
excited about.
I mean, this is my grade.
Mm-hmm.
See me. Come see me after class.
Oof.
Rough.
You hate to see
Rough.
that.
Yeah, more of a joke. I get why the Suns had to do it, but it was a really bad situation that Brian Gregory once again did not choose to be in, Gerald. But what are you grading the waving and stretching of one Bradley Beal?
I'm going with a C, and it's the most average passing grade that you can get there because I think they needed to get off of Bradley Beal's contract. Like, we all agree that bringing him back just was not possible. It didn't make sense for what they were trying to do. I do think the long-term ramifications are going to hurt you. I also think that there are benefits that people are not talking about as much in terms of being able to aggregate salaries now that you're underneath the second tax apron, all the benefits that come with that. I also think that they have to turn those benefits into something tangible. It can't just be, well, we got off of Bradley Beal's contract, because unlike the Milwaukee Bucks, they did it to actually bring someone. Like Miles Turner, I don't think he changes their outlook very much, but at least they got Miles Turner out of it. The Suns were still unclear what they're going to be able to do with these new flexibilities that they've added. So for me, I'm sticking with a C. I think it's been a little incendiary on both ends of the spectrum. I'm kind of right in the middle because there are definite long-term disadvantages to this and there are potential short-term advantages to doing so.
Yeah, I said C-. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is he their highest paid player on contract this season?
Beal?
Yeah.
Besides Book.
Outside of Book.
Well, I think
no,
no.
Jalen Green.
And then
Okay.
Dylan's making 21? Dylan's making, I think, 20.
Yeah, he's somewhere in the
21.
20s.
Yeah. So he's
Okay.
top 4.
Yeah,
So
he's fourth.
The fact that you had to say it, yes, that's tough.
Mhm.
That's tough, but you did what you had to do. In the I forgot what realm of the world it takes place in, but they call it eating the frog, just doing the hard thing.
Mhm.
It was either that or deal with him in the locker room, and
Sure.
they didn't want to go that route. I think it was rather obvious. So they did what they had to do after exhausting all of the options that they could as far as finding trades, and this is what it ended up with.
The reason why I said see me is because usually that's the teacher. It's like a cry for help. It's like, how did we get here?
Mhm.
Right? Like, let's talk about why you're turning in an essay that has 3 sentences written and you already are failing the class.
Sure.
Like, see me. Right. Let's figure out a plan. You know, you got a long way to go. You might be in the 60s to 50 range. Right. But I believe in you. I believe in, let's get this fixed out. Let's make a hard decision and let's move on. Right. This sucked. Like, this was a really, really, really hard pill to swallow. Not that there aren't some benefits of lowering that salary, but there's also a chance that 3 years from now, the Suns are, they bounce back kind of quickly and maybe they could have some extra space to sign somebody and use that $20 million, and they're just not going to be able to do that. The salary cap is going to bump up, so it's not like it takes up a definitive percentage of it, but it's still going to be a good chunk. That's still going to be a good player. This blows. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's move on.
Any other thoughts on it, Eric?
I hate it. I hate him.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I asked.
Got personal.
Can you? Yeah.
No, I don't hate Bradley Beal the person, but I do hate Bradley Beal the basketball player. Is that fair?
Sure.
That's fair. I feel like that's fair. Like, I don't hate him as he's a nice guy, family guy. If that's where his priorities are, like from a human perspective, good for him. Don't blame him for exercising his no trade clause. Don't blame him for taking the buyout. Don't blame him for any of that. But I am a Phoenix Suns fan, and it is not possible to like him as a basketball player.
That's fine.
From his time in the Phoenix Suns. So I don't dislike him as a person. I'm not like that.
Okay.
For the audio listeners, Steven has been shaking his head this entire dissertation episode. Yeah.
The entire last year, basically. Are we shaking our head at Jordan Goodwin, who the Suns claimed off of waivers after the Lakers let him go? He's on a non-guaranteed deal until January. So basically, it's a free flyer on a former Phoenix Sun, Gerald, that came over with Bradley Beal. What do you give this move?
I'll go B-. I think there's a good chance he's not even part of the rotation at all. But if you're talking about, 14th, 15th man on your roster, when you look at the Suns' need for some point of attack defense, someone that's actually a guard that can provide that. They don't have a ton of that. Like, Colling Gillespie is going to scrap, but he's not like that defender who's going to force a lot of turnovers like a Goodwin can. So there is a path to him getting minutes, and I think that's pretty good value considering you claimed his non-guaranteed deal off of waivers. My expectations are low, but if we're grading this relative, like B- seems fair for me.
Yeah, the Suns need point of attack defenders. Outside of Ryan Dunn, Colling Gillespie can provide some of that. Rasheed Fleming can provide it depending on what the matchups are. Dylan Brooks can depending on what the matchups are. And then there's a bit of a gap. That's where you insert Jordan Goodwin. Now there's still a gap that's included after him, but at least you have one other piece that you can viably rely upon if there's injury or if someone's play slips or whatever the case may be. Very important to have these type of guys.
I like Jordan Goodwin, and I feel like I have to say that every time I give like the lowest grade because I feel like everybody looks at me and expects me to be the guy that just gives everything like an A+. But I don't think Jordan Goodwin's on this roster past January, personally. I'd be a little surprised. That being said, as a player, I could see him bringing some value, and especially as a practice player, I think that's going to be somebody who's good to just kind of help set that culture at the beginning of the year, help out with Jordan Ott and everything. He's an NBA veteran now at this point, and he can play bigger than the point guard position. I like Jordan Goodwin. If he ends up playing a lot, I don't like the position the Suns are in, so I feel like a C+ is relatively fair, but I don't hate your guys' grades either. It's very low risk. Like, there was no downside really to doing this because you can get off of him for basically $250,000, which to all of us would be life-changing, but to the NBA teams and Mat Ishbia, it's a literal penny.
How much was it again?
$250,000.
That's it?
That's it. I need to know what you're getting paid. Another guard that the Suns signed, Jared Butler, to a non-guaranteed deal. Gerald, if I remember correctly, this is more of like a training camp type invite thing with Jared Butler. We're going C's across the board.
Yeah, he's competing with Jordan Goodwin for that 14th roster spot. I would give the edge to Goodwin, so there's a chance he's not even on the roster by the time it's opening night. But worth taking a flyer on a guy who can get buckets and has done so on bad teams, which is why I'm in a C range.
He was hooping last season, Steven.
He was playing some ball for a Sixers team that was heavy on the injuries across pretty much the entire of the season. So I think that you look at it a certain way, but you still have to find ways to get it done when the chemistry isn't really there. The team isn't obviously built around you. All of these other things going on. He's a solid player. I just don't think he beats out Jordan Goodwin for that final spot as well.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't have any strong takes on him. I think he's worth a flyer. He's played good basketball in the NBA. Maybe he impresses you. Maybe he doesn't. We got 2 more grades to give out. We're going to grade Devin Booker's record-setting 2-year extension and give an overarching grade on Brian Gregory's first summer as general manager. Plus, we will answer Husman's super chat. We will do all of that as we enter overtime. If you are watching on TV, the party always continues over at gophnx.com. Of course, that's also where you can find all of Gerald's writing. And if you're a diehard, you can read all of it as well. And you can read it ad-free. Let's answer the super chat from Husman, $2. Says, what game means more to you, Houston or the Clippers?
Definitely Houston.
Yeah, I think it's Houston.
Yeah.
This dude.
It's Houston.
It's Houston.
It's got to be Houston.
There'll be more animosity
Ayrton,
towards one player in the Clippers game, but the Houston game will be a little bit more animated in terms of it means more to, I think, everybody involved.
Ayrton and I were talking before the show, and we were just like, oh, realistic expectations for the team, and it's about what we've talked about on the show, and we did our record prediction, and then it was just like, could you imagine, though? Just like imagine that they're better than people expect, which happens in the NBA sometimes, and let's say they're like the 8th seed, and they play the Rockets in the first round, right? And like, what if? What if the power of love and friendship fueled by hate is enough to beat the behemoths? To beat the Houston Rockets? Could you imagine?
You were already out of pocket when you started talking about playoffs, but like
this man.
I said it's unlikely. I said it's unlikely, but like, how magical would that be?
Come on.
How awesome would that? I'm not saying it's going to happen.
You can't just preface it with, well, I think it's unlikely, but like if I win the lottery, then blah, blah. Like,
if I win the lottery, that'd be great.
It's not going to happen.
Would you not love to win the lottery?
Of course you would,
but
it's not going to happen.
It's August. I can dream, Gerald. Let me dream.
Let's go to the next one.
No, we're sticking on this. Grade my dream. Okay. Devin Booker. No, my dream's awesome, by the way. My dream is an A+, because if it were to happen, that would be cinema. Think of the content, Gerald.
C for cinema.
Think of the NBA on NBC intro for that when Phoenix is up 3-0 with a home game in the first round against the vaunted Houston Rockets and Kevin Durant. Maybe Phoenix wins so well that KD requests a trade to another team that beat him in the playoffs.
Sean said F for fantasy.
I'm messing around, guys. It's August. Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns came to an agreement just before Summer League on a record-setting 2-year contract extension worth $145 million. How are we grading the Phoenix Suns and Brian Gregory locking up their all-time franchise leading scorer for the foreseeable future? Gerald, you're fish out of water here on our grades.
Yeah, I'm going with a B because I think
Booker?
B for Booker. There you go. I think it was inevitable. I think it was something that makes sense for both parties. I also think that, like Yossi Gozlan said when he came on our show, that extending a player that far out for that many years, that late into their career, is risky. It comes with risks. Like, we know the salary cap's going up. We know that we need to be judging contracts now by the percentage of the cap, not by their monetary value, which I still don't think people fully understand. But I do also think that paying Booker that much money that late into his career and choosing to extend him now is kind of a gesture of goodwill. Like, hey, our bad about the last 2 years. We know the next 1 or 2 is going to be rough. Stick with us. And I think for Book, he doesn't want to go anywhere. So it made sense for both parties. But there is still risks that comes with it when you are signing a guy who last year did not play like a top 10 player. I think we all have faith he will bounce back and be that player again now that he's the undisputed number 1 option. But there is risk with it, and I wanted to acknowledge that in my grade.
Definitely matters, and I factored those things into it for me on my grade. I did give them an A+ for that. The side that outweighed those things for me was clarity. In a offseason that had little to none of it, and your first step in the new era of whatever it is to come is that you have your franchise player who's been your franchise player for how many years now?
A decade.
Correct. You have him tied in for the next handful of years, and that's one less thing that you have to worry about because you got Mark Williams' contract coming up. You got Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green and deciding what you want to do with these pieces. You have Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal, who are very friendly contracts that you could use to bring something new in, potentially get a pick, second round of variety in. You have a ton of different things that you have to consider assessing Jordan Ott and what everything looks like with him. Brian Gregory. One less thing off of all of those pieces table is wondering if the franchise player is going to be around. I think that when you have pieces that are kind of variable right now, having a mainstay at the helm of all of it helps to kind of organize everything else. It allows for you to better set a tone for identity and culture when you have that player that's around.
Yeah, to me this was a no-brainer, which is why I put it as an A+. And there's risks with everything, right? I mean, there's risks with drafting Khaman Maluach at 10, and there's a risk with drafting Rasheer Fleming, right? Like, there's a reason why he fell. Maybe it doesn't work out. There's risk with this, for sure. But he's already your franchise all-time leading scorer. The man's not even 30 yet. Nobody has had more head coaches since Devin Booker has walked into the NBA than Devin Booker in that time frame. I believe this is coach number 8 for him heading into year 11. He has taken you closer to a championship, being up 2-0 than any other player in franchise history. He's been the 1A/1B on a championship team. He's a star attractor, whether that worked out or not. It didn't, but was that on Devin Booker or was that on how the team built around Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant? You can leave that up to yourself to decide. And he's, to me, continuing to get better, even if he's not going to be hitting his athletic prime, or maybe he is, but he's had lower body injuries. Him as a playmaker, him as a scorer, and I think him as a quiet leader as well. This is a really big season for him, but also at the end of the day, if you're a trade Devin Booker guy, this is also important because one of the reasons why the Phoenix Suns were basically put in a corner with Kevin Durant was because he did not have another year besides this upcoming one on his current contract. So to me, it was an A+ because you kind of had to hedge your bets either way. And if you didn't do this, then like Steven mentioned with the clarity, we would have had an entire season of, is it over? Are there trade requests? And imagine if we were going into this year with that type of albatross around the neck of this team of, well, Devin Booker didn't sign the contract extension or the Suns didn't offer him the max amount of money that they could have offered him. And I think if he was on the open market, he would have gotten the same amount if teams were able to offer him that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's, to your point, like having him under contract for longer, if in 1 to 2 years Book wants out or the Suns want to trade him or whatever, it helps your trade leverage as long as he is still playing at a top 10, top 15 level. But, you know, no matter what contract he was on, if that wasn't the case, suddenly his value is bad either way. So sure. He will have to get back to it, both for his potential to stay here for the long haul and compete for championships, or if you are on the other side of the spectrum and want to trade Devin Booker, you need him to play well over the next few years, no matter what.
The quiet part of it all is that if you do get in a situation where you have to trade him, though, because he has more years, that should mean you get more in return for him.
As long as he's playing at a top 10, top 15. Right. If he's not playing at that level, then suddenly paying him 60, 70 million is not something teams are going to give up assets for.
Yeah, he needs to play like an all-star, not an all-star. He needs to play like an all-NBA player. He needs to play like a top 10 player. Like that, there's no excuses for Devin Booker. We've gone over that and we'll continue to go over that.
Nah, he needs to play like an MVP this season.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
We're talking top 7 at worst.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. On both sides of the ball, he needs to produce as well. That's something we'll continue to talk about as the season gets closer. But overall, still relatively high on Brian Gregory's one of his biggest moves of the offseason and one of the Phoenix Suns' biggest moves of the offseason. So it's time to give our final grades. The reports are in. Everything has been graded. You've taken all of our weekly tests and our pop quiz. But what does Brian Gregory get for his first summer as Phoenix Suns general manager? We're all close, but not exactly the same. Gerald, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm on the lower end. I think it's still a passing grade. I think he did well in the draft especially, and I think that matters looking forward to building around Devin Booker with youth, with defense, with grit, all the things that they talked about. They did align on all of the qualities that they wanted to add this summer. I still don't really like the Jalen Green fit with Devin Booker. I have questions about Mark Williams and some of these additions like Nigel Hayes or some of these other guys, these rookies especially. They may struggle to contribute in year one just because of the nature of their rookies or their vet minimum guys. But overall, I like that there's a vision now. I like that they're on hopefully a young upward trajectory. But anytime that you go from adding Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal to 0 playoff wins with those 3 to now totally retooling, like it's the grade can only be so high in my book.
Steven? What are you rolling with for Brian Gregory in summer number 1?
Yeah, I gave him a B-. I think that for someone that was kind of touted for his attention to detail and understanding of prospects and assessing drafts and college players, if that's your best quality that you're bringing in, and by all means, we all gave him no less than a B+ for his performance in the draft alone, that's a big piece of everything that's going forward for this team. Did a great job with that. I think he did about as much as you possibly could with the Durant situation, considering it wasn't his that he created, but he came into a situation knowing he had to clean up some things. No free ads, but used all of the products to clean the crib that he possibly could. And I think he did as good as he could with that return based off of the merits of them wanting future prospects. So all those things considered, a B-. I think is solid.
One of the rare times that somebody says no free ads and actually doesn't give the free ad afterwards. Yep. It's good control from you, Steven. For me, I did a straight B. And part of it is a little bit grading on a curve because he did kind of have to dig himself out of a pretty poor situation that he did not put himself into. That being said, I am not the highest on the KD trade in a vacuum, but then I look at the draft and I'm really high on the draft, and you don't get the draft without the KD trade. And I think that evens that out a little bit. I'm not super high on the Bradley Beal wave and stretch, but I'm really high on the Devin Booker extension. So I think that evens it out a little bit. I think there are some really tough decisions that had to be made, and he has surprised me. I was pretty low on him when you first heard from him, obviously giving him the space. And I think a lot of people didn't really realize that it's like you can react to something, but also understand that it could all totally change, which is also this entire episode. But when we heard from Brian Gregory for the first time, I was not super high on what I thought he could do in that general manager seat. And I will say I've been pleasantly shut up this offseason, and obviously a lot needs to play out. But if you told me that I would feel the way I did about this team today, right when Brian Gregory got hired, I would be pleasantly surprised by it. I'm not over the moon. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to beat the Rockets in the playoffs, guys. Like, let's calm down here. I don't know who said that, but ridiculous. But I'm pleasantly surprised with everything that Brian Gregory did, and I hope that this grade for all of us goes up because maybe some of these risks, these gambles that he decided to take as a franchise end up hitting, like it is a Mark Williams or a Maluach, or maybe it's even bringing Colling Gillespie back and putting some more into him, or finding a way to use the maneuverability after a Bradley Beal buyout. Any final thoughts?
Herculean efforts from Brian Gregory. And I quote from Eric Ruby, "He got me to shut up."
You're waiting for that one.
No, it presented it to me. It was on the tee. I wasn't waiting for it.
Right down the middle.
Right down the middle.
Meatball.
A+.
Oh, you
if
can
Brian
follow the
watching,
show.
I hope he watches all the way through.
He's like, I gotta work harder. I want to shut that guy up even more. If that's what it
I
takes,
can literally hear him
if that's what it takes, then that's fine. If Nigel Hayes-Davis has to put my picture up on the wall for motivation, and Brian Gregory wants me to shut up, and he starts cooking at GM, I literally did a trending pod about how Brian Gregory was cooking after the draft. Listen, I call it how I see it.
He said, "I'm playing my role."
Matt's like, listen, it's important that you draft well, you assemble a great team, hiring Jordan Ott, but your most important thing is shut him up. Make him be quiet.
Oh, boy.
Guess what? Nobody can do that. I'm back tomorrow talking like I always do. For some people, it is. But you can follow the show in the meantime at PHNX_Suns. That's on Twitter, and that is on Instagram as well. We post different stuff on both, so make sure that you're up to date on both platforms. We appreciate the Juice Man making all these graphics, making all the magic happen per usual. You can follow him at Freckled Mamba. You can follow Steven, the biggest Cubs fan in the world, at Steven PG3. That's
might be
Steven with a PH because he balances us out. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget. Keep an eye out on gophnx.com for his latest writing that will be coming out later this week.
Later tomorrow.
Wow. Exciting stuff on a Wednesday. You can follow me, never shutting up, at ERIKRUBY for Suns and for ASU season. If you are an ASU fan, we have some incredible coverage coming for you over the next couple of months for the number 11 team in the country. And we'll talk to you all tomorrow for some more August fun.
We all silly like the mayor.